A simple black woman was humiliated by her boss, then he found out she was the investor's wife. The 60-second ride up the elevator to the 38th floor of the Wilton and Chase Tower was the only moment of peace Lisa Brooks allowed herself each morning. As the polished metal doors slid open to reveal the gleaming marble lobby, she took a final deep breath, straightened her modest cardigan, and stepped into a world that seemed determined to make her invisible. "Morning, Mrs. Brooks," mumbled Eddie, the security guard, one of the precious few who had bothered to learn her name in the 8 months she'd been working in the administrative department. His acknowledgement was a small victory in her daily battle against anonymity. "Good morning, Eddie. How's your daughter's basketball team doing?" Lisa's voice was soft but clear, her smile genuine despite knowing what awaited her beyond the reception area. Eddie's face brightened. "Made it to regionals. Thanks for asking, Mrs. Brooks." This brief human connection was a ritual Lisa cherished, a reminder that kindness could exist within these cold glass walls. But her moment of warmth evaporated as the distinctive sound of Derek Walters' booming laugh echoed from the break room. Lisa navigated the maze of cubicles to her small desk, tucked away in the least desirable corner of the open floor plan, directly under a perpetually humming air vent. Her space was immaculate, organized with military precision, a silent rebellion against those who expected chaos from someone they viewed as insignificant. The Wilton and Chase investment firm prided itself on diverse hiring practices in their brochures and mission statements. In reality, Lisa was one of only 3 black employees among 62 staff members on this floor, and the only one in administration. The weight of this isolation wasn't lost on her as she powered up her computer and removed a stack of meticulously prepared reports from her bag. Well, the temp girl actually showed up today." Derek Walters' voice carried across the office floor as he strutted toward her desk, his $3,000 suit and slick-back hair as much a part of his persona as his habit of publicly demeaning those he considered beneath him. Though he'd only been department head for 3 months, he carried himself like a conquering emperor. "Good morning, Mr. Walters," Lisa replied evenly, not bothering to correct his deliberate mistake about her employment status for what would have been the 12th time. "The quarterly reports are complete, and I've already emailed the Johnson proposal with the revisions you requested." Derek's smirk faltered momentarily, clearly caught off guard by her efficiency. His eyes darted to her immaculate desk, searching for any flaw he could exploit. "Well, make sure there aren't any typos this time," he announced loudly enough for nearby colleagues to hear. "Last report was sloppy. We can't have clients thinking we hire." He let the implication hang in the air, his gaze sliding dismissively over her neat but modestly priced outfit. Around them, colleagues pretended to be absorbed in their screens. Janet from accounting, seated 3 cubicles away, caught Lisa's eye briefly before guiltily turning back to her spreadsheets. No one would come to her defense. They never did. "The Henderson meeting is at 10, we need coffee service," Derek continued, checking his reflection in the glass partition. "Set it up properly this time. No generic creamer packets like last week. This isn't some downtown diner." "I'll take care of it," Lisa said, her face a carefully composed mask that revealed nothing of the churning beneath. "That's what we pay you for, isn't it?" Derek laughed, glancing around for approval from anyone watching. 2 junior associates nervously chuckled along. "Coffee runner extraordinaire. At least you found your calling." As Derek sauntered away, Lisa remained perfectly still, her posture straight, her expression neutral. Only the slight whitening of her knuckles as she gripped her pen betrayed any emotion. Kevin Chen, a junior analyst whose desk faced hers, waited until Derek was out of earshot before leaning forward. "I've got some Colombian dark roast stashed in my drawer if you need it. For the executives," he offered quietly. "Better than the break room stuff." "Thank you, Kevin," Lisa responded with a small nod of appreciation. "He's such a jerk," Kevin added, glancing in Derek's direction. "I don't know how you stay so calm." Lisa didn't answer. What could she say? That dignity was sometimes the only weapon available when you're deemed powerless. That she'd learned long ago that displaying anger would only reinforce the stereotypes people like Derek already believed about her. Instead, she turned to her computer and began methodically organizing the day's tasks. What none of them knew, not condescending Derek, not well-meaning, but cowardly Kevin, not the executives who barely registered her presence, was that Lisa Brooks had very good reasons for enduring these daily humiliations with such composure. Reasons that were carefully concealed behind her simple clothes and quiet demeanor. Reasons connected to the platinum wedding band she wore on her left hand, which everyone assumed came from a discount jewelry store. Reasons that would become startlingly clear to everyone at Wilton and Chase very soon. As she headed to the break room to prepare for the executives' meeting, Lisa caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass walls. A seemingly ordinary woman rendered nearly invisible by others' assumptions. For now she would remain in the shadows, watching, waiting, and recording every slight, every dismissal, every casual cruelty. The time for being seen was coming. Rain tapped against the windows of Wilton and Chase as Lisa arrived Tuesday morning, shaking out her modest umbrella. The weather matched her mood. Gray and heavy, with foreboding. As she rounded the corner to her desk, she stopped short. A stack of familiar folders sat in the center of her workspace. Post-it note attached. Redo all of these. Formatting unacceptable. Need by noon. Dida. Lisa leafed through the stack. The very same quarterly reports she had meticulously prepared and submitted yesterday, following the company template to the letter. Each report represented hours of careful work, all dismissed with a hastily scrawled note. This wasn't the first time, but it was escalating. Derek's petty power plays had evolved from dismissive comments to systematic undermining. She'd barely settled when Derek materialized beside her desk, Cologne announcing his presence before he spoke. You've seen your morning project," he said loud enough for neighboring cubicles to hear. "I stayed late reviewing those, you know. Frankly, I'm concerned about attention to detail. That kind of sloppiness reflects poorly on the entire department." Lisa met his gaze. "Mr. Walters, I followed the standard template. Could you specify what needs changing?" Derek leaned in, lowering his voice. "Listen, Brooks, this is a premier investment firm, not a community college project. Just fix it. All of it. And don't make me explain basic professionalism again." 2 hours later, Lisa had reformatted every report, making meaningless adjustments to margins and font sizes since no actual errors existed. She printed fresh copies and placed them on Derek's empty desk while he lunched with executives. At 2:17 p.m., passing the conference room, she overheard Derek's voice. "Completely redone these quarterly reports overnight. Had to show the admin department how things should be done properly. As department head, I can't let standards slip." Through the partially open door, Lisa glimpsed the marketing director nodding appreciatively as Derek distributed her work, now bearing his signature instead of hers. The pattern continued relentlessly. Thursday, Lisa discovered she'd been accidentally removed from critical email chains, then was publicly reprimanded for being unprepared when the topics arose in meetings. During the department's strategy session, Derek cut her off mid-sentence. "We'll circle back to the support staff input later," before moving on and never returning to her point. Friday brought the monthly interdepartmental lunch. Lisa had secured a seat at the middle table when Derek approached, face a mask of exaggerated concern. "Oh, Lisa, there seems to be a mix-up. This table is for team leaders and project coordinators. There's space at the back near the service station. More appropriate for your position, don't you think?" Several colleagues averted their eyes as Lisa silently gathered her belongings. Only Kevin Chen made brief eye contact, discomfort evident in his expression, before looking away. Later, alone with Lisa in the elevator, heading to a client meeting, Derek's demeanor shifted from public mockery to something more insidious. "People like you should be grateful to even have a position at a firm like this," he said, inspecting his manicured nails. "Not everyone gets these opportunities, you know." The implication hung in the air, heavy and unmistakable. Lisa's grip tightened on her tablet, but her expression remained neutral. "I am grateful for my position, Mr. Walters," she replied evenly. "I work hard to earn it every day." The whispers began the following Wednesday. Marissa Chen, from HR, Kevin's sister, lingered after dropping off some forms at Lisa's desk. "Just so you know," she murmured, arranging papers unnecessarily, "there's a major investor doing a surprise inspection next week. Someone who never visits but owns a huge stake in the company." Lisa looked up, interest carefully concealed. "Really? Anyone know who it is?" "No name yet, but rumor is they're specifically evaluating department management and workplace culture." Marissa glanced meaningfully at Derek's office. Apparently someone on the board raised concerns about certain leadership styles. When this rumor reached Derek during the afternoon staff meeting, he dismissed it with a confident laugh. "Trust me," he announced, leaning back in his chair. "I know exactly how to handle the important people. That's why I'm here. I speak their language." His gaze slid deliberately to Lisa. Unlike some of the help around here, that evening, after confirming she was alone in the parking garage, Lisa made a call from her car. "It's escalating," she said, voice soft but steady as rain pattered on the roof. "He's taking credit for my work now, publicly humiliating me, and there's definite discriminatory undertones." A deep, measured voice responded on the other end. "Do you want to end it now? Say the word and I'll intervene tomorrow." Lisa watched raindrops race down her windshield, considering. "No, we need to see how deep this goes. If it's just Derek or if it's systemic. I'm starting to suspect others in management know and allow it. Just be careful, love. This was your idea, but I don't like seeing you treated this way." 3 more days, Lisa said firmly. The investor visit is the perfect opportunity to see who stands where. As she ended the call, Lisa didn't notice Kevin Chen watching from his car several spaces away, a puzzled expression on his face as he witnessed the nobody of the office speaking with such authority into her phone. Friday morning arrived with a crackling energy in the air. Whispers about the mysterious investor's visit had spread throughout Wilton and Chase, transforming the usually subdued office into a hive of nervous activity. Staff members polished their presentations, straightened their workspaces, and rehearsed elevator pitches in bathroom mirrors. Lisa arrived early to prepare the executive meeting room. She noticed Kevin Chen hovering near her desk, clearly waiting for her. "Morning, Lisa," he said, fidgeting with his tie. "Listen, I wanted to ask." He hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Is everything okay with you? I mean, outside of work?" Lisa paused, surprised by the unexpected concern. "I'm fine, Kevin. Why do you ask?" "No reason," he said quickly. "Just, if you ever need someone to talk to about what's happening here." Before she could respond, the elevator doors opened and Derek strode onto the floor like a general inspecting troops, barking orders as he passed. "Today's the day, people. Looking sharp matters. First impressions last. Chen. Those quarterly projections better be flawless." Lisa excused herself and headed to the coffee room to prepare the refreshment service for the morning executive meeting. A task beneath most administrative coordinators at other firms, but one Derek insisted only she could handle at Wilton and Chase. The coffee room was the newest addition to the 38th floor, a sleek space with gleaming espresso machines and premium refreshments. Lisa methodically arranged artisanal pastries on silver platters while the coffee brewed, its rich aroma filling the space. She was carefully positioning the china cups when the door swung open. Derek entered, followed by 2 junior analysts, who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Lisa immediately recognized the predatory gleam in his eye, the look that preceded his most theatrical humiliations. "Well, well, if it isn't our resident coffee expert," Derek announced loudly, making sure his voice carried. "Gentlemen, Mrs. Brooks here has perfected the art of being wallpaper. I sometimes forget she even works here until I need something menial done." The junior analysts exchanged uncomfortable glances. One checked his watch nervously. The other studied the floor tiles as if they contained secret messages. Lisa continued arranging cups with steady hands, refusing to provide the reaction Derek clearly craved. "I mean seriously," Derek continued, warming to his audience as more staff trickled in for morning coffee. "This is a premier investment firm. You could at least try to look the part if you want to be taken seriously." He gestured dismissively at her modest navy dress and sensible pumps. "Those discount store outfits aren't doing you any favors. How do you expect clients to respect our firm when staff looks like they shop at garage sales?" A few nervous laughs rippled through the room. Most people studied their phones or suddenly found their coffee cups fascinating. "Mr. Walters," Lisa said quietly, "I need to finish preparing for the executive meeting." "Oh, the executive meeting," Derek mocked, imitating her voice with exaggerated politeness. "As if you're part of the important discussions. You're there to pour coffee and take notes that nobody will read." The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Through the glass walls, Lisa noticed Kevin hovering nearby, watching with visible distress. His sister Marissa from HR whispering urgently in his ear. Derek, encouraged by his captive audience, decided to escalate. He reached into the supply closet and pulled out a mop that had been left by the overnight cleaning staff. With an exaggerated flourish, he held it out to Lisa. "Here you go, Brooks. This is more your speed, isn't it? Maybe stick to cleaning instead of pretending you belong at the big table." The silence in the room deepened. Someone gasped. Outside in the hallway, Marissa was now frantically texting on her phone, her face pale. "Mr. Walters," Lisa began, her voice steady despite the public humiliation. "I don't think—" The distinctive sound of the executive elevator's arrival cut through the tension. The special elevator, used only by the C-suite and VIP visitors, opened just around the corner from the coffee room. "Derek," Janet from accounting hissed in warning, but it was too late. Derek was in full performance mode, mop still extended toward Lisa, his voice carrying clearly. "Come on, Brooks. We all know this is the only job you could get here. Not everyone has the qualifications for real financial work. Some people are just born to serve coffee." The sound of multiple footsteps approached, purposeful, measured steps that suggested importance and authority. A shadow fell across the doorway. Mr. Davis, the silver-haired CEO of Wilton & Chase, appeared first, his typically genial expression replaced by thunderous disapproval. Behind him followed 3 board members in impeccable suits, their faces masks of professional neutrality barely concealing their shock. And then, stepping into full view came a tall, distinguished-looking black man whose bespoke suit and commanding presence caused an immediate ripple of recognition throughout the room. Though few had met him in person, Marcus Brooks's reputation as one of the nation's most successful private investors preceded him. For one excruciating moment, the tableau held, Derek frozen mid-mockery, mop still extended toward Lisa. The executives framed in the doorway, and Lisa herself, standing with perfect composure amidst the silver platters and china cups. Her eyes now locked, not on Derek but on Marcus Brooks. In that suspended moment, before anyone spoke, Derek's face transformed as he registered the presence of the executives. The mocking smile faltered, replaced by dawning horror as he took in not just their presence, but the absolute fury radiating from Miss Davis and the cold, calculating assessment in Marcus Brooks' gaze. What no one in the room yet realized, as the tension crackled like static electricity, was that the worst was yet to come for Derek Walters. The mop in his hands might as well have been a shovel. He had just dug his own professional grave. Time seemed to crystallize in the coffee room. Derek stood motionless, the mop still outstretched in his hand, his face cycling through emotions like a spinning slot machine. Shock, confusion, fear, and finally, a desperate attempt at recovery. "Mr. Davis," he managed, his voice cracking slightly. "Good morning, sir. We were just having a demonstration?" Mr. Davis finished for him, his voice arctic. In 20 years at Wilton & Chase, no one had ever heard the normally affable CEO use that tone. Derek lowered the mop, his confidence evaporating under the collective stare of the most powerful people in the company. The junior analysts who had been his audience moments before now edged toward the door, trying to create distance between themselves and what was clearly a career implosion in progress. "Just a bit of office banter," Derek attempted with a hollow laugh. "Team building, you know how it is." Not a single face reflected amusement. The silence stretched painfully, until Mr. Davis broke it with deliberate precision. "Allow me to introduce our special visitor," he said, stepping aside. "For those who haven't had the privilege, this is Marcus Brooks, who recently increased his stake to become one of our largest private investors." The distinguished man stepped forward, and the room's atmosphere shifted again. Marcus Brooks was known in financial circles as a brilliant, ruthless evaluator of corporate culture, a man who believed a company's treatment of its lowest-ranking employee revealed more than any balance sheet. His investments were coveted not just for their financial backing but for his reputation as a kingmaker in the industry. "Marcus, this is unfortunately Derek Walters, our administrative department head," Mr. Davis continued, the word unfortunately landing like a hammer. Derek extended his hand reflexively, corporate training overriding his growing panic. Marcus ignored it, his attention focused entirely on Lisa, who had not moved from her position by the refreshment table. An electric current of confusion passed through the room as Marcus approached her. Colleagues who had spent months barely noticing Lisa now stared openly, trying to make sense of why this financial titan was looking at the coffee runner with such familiarity. "Lisa," Marcus said, his deep voice gentle but carrying clearly in the silent room. "Hello, Marcus," she replied, her composure unbroken, despite being the center of attention. Derek's head swiveled between them, confusion battling terror on his face. You know each other." Marcus turned slowly to face Derek, his expression hardening. "Mrs. Brooks," he said with deliberate emphasis, "is my wife of 15 years. The revelation detonated in the room like a silent bomb. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the gathered staff. Janet from accounting actually dropped her coffee mug, the ceramic shattering on the floor unnoticed. Derek's face drained of color so rapidly that for a moment, Lisa wondered if he might faint. "Your wife?" he stammered, the words barely audible. "My brilliant, patient, extraordinary wife," Marcus confirmed, carefully taking the serving tray from Lisa's hands and placing it on the counter. "Who has been working here under her professional name for the past 8 months. Understanding dawned across the faces in the room. Lisa Brooks. Marcus Brooks. The connection now blazingly obvious yet completely overlooked, until this moment. "I had no idea," Derek began, sweat now visible on his forehead. "Clearly," Marcus replied, his voice dangerously soft. Around the room, people who had moments ago been passive observers of Lisa's humiliation now physically distanced themselves from Derek, as if his sudden toxicity might be contagious. Kevin Chen stood in the doorway, his sister Marissa beside him, both watching with complicated expressions that mingled shock with something that looked suspiciously like satisfaction. Mr. Davis cleared his throat. "Lisa, I can't begin to—" "This isn't the place, James," Marcus interrupted smoothly. "I think we should continue this conversation in the boardroom." He turned to the staff members still frozen in place. "I believe everyone has work to return to." The dismissal was unmistakable. People scattered with unusual speed, the coffee room emptying in seconds, leaving only Derek still rooted to the spot, the mop now dangling forgotten from his limp hand. "Mr. Walters?" Mr. Davis said coldly. "Please wait in my office. Miss Chan from HR will join you shortly." As Derek stumbled out, his usual swagger replaced by the shuffling gait of a condemned man, Lisa finally allowed herself a single deep breath. The mask of passive acceptance she'd worn for months slipped just slightly, revealing a flash of the formidable woman beneath. "Shall we?" Marcus offered his arm with formal courtesy that did nothing to disguise the fierce pride in his eyes. As they walked out together, followed by the executives, the whispers had already begun racing through the office. Employees who had witnessed the confrontation shared urgent, hushed accounts with those who hadn't. Phones buzzed with text messages, email notifications pinged on screens throughout the building. "Lisa Brooks is Marcus Brooks's wife. The coffee runner is married to our biggest investor, Derek is finished. Did you see his face when he realized? How did none of us know? She was testing us. We all failed." From her desk, Janet watched the procession move toward the executive conference room, her expression stricken. "We let it happen," she whispered to no one in particular. "Every single day we just let it happen." Kevin Chen, returning to his cubicle, noticed a small notebook left open on Lisa's immaculate desk. A single line was written at the top of today's page in her precise handwriting. "Final observation day. Test concluded." The executive conference room of Wilton & Chase had hosted countless high-stakes negotiations, but none quite like this. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a sweeping view of the city skyline, a reminder of the power concentrated in this glass-walled sanctum. The morning sun cast long shadows across the polished mahogany table where Lisa and Marcus Brooks now sat facing the company's leadership. 8 months, Mr. Davis said, breaking the tense silence. "You've been working in our administrative department for 8 months without anyone recognizing you or making the connection to Marcus?" Lisa nodded. "That was the point, James. I wanted an unfiltered experience of your company culture." The board members exchanged nervous glances. Reginald Wilton, the firm's aging founder, leaned forward. "Mrs. Brooks, or should I call you Mrs. Emerson Brooks as you're known in financial circles, may I ask why? You sit on the boards of 3 Fortune 500 companies. You have an MBA from Wharton. You hardly needed to prove yourself as an administrative coordinator." "This wasn't about proving myself," Lisa replied, her voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. This was about proving what your company truly is beneath the diversity statements and corporate values plastered on your website. Marcus placed a supportive hand over hers. When we considered increasing our investment in Wilton & Chase, Lisa suggested a ground-level evaluation first. Your financial performance is impressive, but we've learned that toxic culture eventually contaminates even the strongest balance sheets. Mr. Davis wiped perspiration from his brow. I assure you, what you witnessed today is not representative of our company values. Derek Walters is one bad apple. One bad apple, enabled by an orchard of silent witnesses. Lisa interrupted, from her modest handbag. She withdrew a leather-bound notebook and placed it on the table. This contains 8 months of documented incidents, not just Derek's behavior, but who witnessed it, who enabled it, who looked away. She opened the notebook to a carefully tabulated page. Janet from accounting observed 17 incidents of clear harassment and said nothing. Thomas in legal saw 9, even you, James. She turned to the CEO, walked past twice while Derek was openly mocking me, and simply nodded without intervening. The weight of collective complicity settled over the room like a shroud. We had no idea you were Marcus Brooks' wife, protested Victoria Chase, the firm's co-founder. And that's relevant how? Marcus asked quietly. Would Derek's behavior have been acceptable if Lisa were just an ordinary employee without powerful connections? Is dignity at Wilton & Chase only reserved for those with the right last names or relationships? The question hung in the air, unanswerable. Down the hall, Derek Walters sat alone in Mr. Davis's office, his career disintegrating with each passing minute. Through the glass walls he could see colleagues avoiding eye contact, their earlier subservience transformed to distance. Marissa Chen from HR approached with a security officer, folders in hand. His personal items would be packed in a box, his key card would be deactivated. 3 months as department head, erased in 3 minutes of catastrophic misjudgment. Back in the conference room, Lisa was speaking with the measured precision that had once made her a feared prosecutor before she transitioned to corporate. Your company's stated commitment to diversity and inclusion is admirable on paper, she said, turning the notebook to display a meticulous chart. But my experience reveals a 73% discrepancy between policy and practice. Marcus took over seamlessly, the couple's coordination evidence of their long partnership. Our investment firm now controls 27% of Wilton & Chase's privately held shares. We have 3 options before us. He held up one finger. First, we could divest completely, citing ethical concerns and cultural misalignment. This would trigger questions from other investors and likely devalue your stock significantly. A second finger joined the first. Second, we could maintain our investment but publicly document our concerns, resulting in oversight requirements and external audits. The third option hung unspoken until Lisa provided it. Or we implement immediate, substantive changes to your corporate culture, beginning today, with our continued support and increased investment contingent upon measurable improvement. The relief in the room was palpable, as board members realized there was a path forward, however demanding it might be. We choose option 3, Mr. Davis said without consulting his colleagues, knowing they had no real alternative. Wise choice, Marcus acknowledged. Here are immediate requirements. He slid a folder across the table containing a document that hadn't existed that morning, but somehow looked meticulously prepared. Lisa met the executive's confused glances with a small smile. I didn't spend 8 months just taking notes on problems, she explained. I developed solutions as well. The document outlined sweeping changes, mandatory sensitivity training, anonymous reporting systems with teeth, equitable promotion policies, and new accountability measures for leadership. At the bottom was the unmistakable note, implementation to be overseen by Lisa Brooks Emerson, newly appointed to the board of directors, effective immediately. As the executives absorbed the document, a knock at the door preceded Kevin Chen's entrance. He carried Lisa's simple cardigan and the personal items from her desk. Mrs. Brooks, I thought you might want these, he said, then hesitated before adding. I've been documenting some incidents too in my department. Things I saw but didn't speak up about enough. If it would help with the changes coming. Lisa's expression softened. It would, Kevin. Thank you. As he left, Marcus turned to his wife with quiet pride. Looks like you found at least one potential ally in the wilderness. There are always a few, Lisa replied. The challenge is creating an environment where they can speak up without fear. She turned back to the executives, her voice taking on the authority that had been deliberately concealed beneath her quiet demeanor for 8 long months. Now shall we begin remaking Wilton and Chase into the company it claims to be on its website? 3 weeks after what staff now referred to in hushed tones as the coffee room reckoning, Wilton and Chase had transformed. The physical space remained unchanged, the same gleaming glass and marble, the same panoramic views of the city, but the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Monday morning found Lisa Brooks Emerson stepping off the elevator onto the 38th floor. Unlike before, she wasn't wearing modest cardigans or simple dresses. Today, her tailored charcoal suit and elegant jewelry reflected her true professional identity, though she still wore the same simple wedding band that had gone unnoticed for months. "Good morning, Mrs. Brooks Emerson," called several voices as she crossed the lobby. The greetings weren't delivered with the obsequious terror that had followed her revelation, but with genuine respect, the kind earned rather than demanded. "Eddie," the security guard beamed as she approached. "The changes are sticking, Mrs. Brooks Emerson. Night and day difference from before." "I'm glad to hear that, Eddie. And how's your daughter doing in the championship? Taking them to the finals next weekend. Those tickets you arranged for the team scouts to attend. I can't thank you enough." Lisa smiled warmly. She earned that attention with her talent. "I just made sure the right people were watching." She continued toward what had been Derek Walters' office, now transformed into a space that better reflected her new role. The glass walls remained transparent, a deliberate choice that hadn't escaped anyone's notice, visible leadership being one of the first changes she'd implemented. Derek himself was gone, fired for cause after a thorough review of his conduct revealed patterns of discrimination that extended well beyond his treatment of Lisa. The company had provided a generous severance to avoid potential litigation, but the non-disclosure agreement he'd signed ensured his silence about the specific circumstances of his departure. According to office rumor, he'd left the financial sector entirely, taking a position with a cousin's real estate firm in another state. Janet from accounting hovered outside Lisa's office, nervous energy evident in her fidgeting hands. "Janet, come in," Lisa said, gesturing to a chair. "I've finished the report you requested on pay discrepancies across departments," Janet said, placing a folder on the desk. The results were illuminating. There's a clear pattern when comparing compensation by gender and race, even accounting for experience and performance ratings. Lisa nodded. "Exactly what I suspected. Will you present these findings at the board meeting on Thursday?" Janet looked startled. "Me? But I'm not. You're exactly the right person. You know the numbers better than anyone, and you've shown real commitment to fixing these issues." After Janet left, Kevin Chen appeared at the door with Marissa from HR. "The new harassment reporting system is ready to launch," Marissa announced. "Anonymous, secure, and with the oversight committee structure you recommended. And I've assembled that Lunch and Learn series on allyship you suggested," Kevin added. "We already have 47 staff signed up." "Excellent work, both of you," Lisa said. The siblings exchanged pleased glances before departing. Alone briefly, Lisa opened her desk drawer and removed the leather-bound notebook that had documented her 8-month experiment. Leafing through pages filled with incidents, patterns, and observations, she realized it had become a blueprint for transformation rather than just a record of failure. A text message lit up her phone. "Dinner tonight to celebrate 3 weeks of progress?" She smiled, typing back, "Wouldn't miss it. Love you." Her calendar alert reminded her of the morning's most important meeting. She gathered her materials and headed to the main conference room where 20 new employees waited. The first hiring cohort under Wilton and Chase's revised practices. As Lisa entered, the diverse group of faces turned toward her with expressions ranging from nervous to excited. Among them were people who would have been overlooked under the old system, a young black woman with impressive quantitative skills but a degree from a state university rather than an Ivy League, a middle-aged man returning to finance after raising children, a hearing-impaired analyst whose accommodation needs had been viewed as too complicated by the previous HR director. "Welcome to Wilton and Chase," Lisa began. "I joined this company 8 months ago in a very different role, with a very different experience than you'll have. I'm here to make sure of that." She shared a brief, honest version of her story, watching understanding dawn across their faces. "The changes here aren't window dressing or corporate performance art," she continued. They're substantive, measured, and accountable. You were hired for your talents, and you deserve an environment where those talents can flourish. After the orientation concluded, Lisa returned to her office to find Marcus waiting, leaning casually against her desk. Spying on me? She asked, with a raised eyebrow. Admiring you, he corrected. The board just unanimously approved the expanded investment package, by the way. Your culture transformation metrics were the deciding factor. Our metrics, she corrected, accepting his quick kiss. This was always a partnership. Speaking of which, Marcus said, the Franklin Group called again. They want us to consider the same arrangement with their firm. Lisa considered this. Another undercover operation? They're practically begging for it. Their CEO was at the industry dinner last night. Heard what we've achieved here. Apparently, they've had 3 discrimination lawsuits quietly settled in the past year. Lisa's expression grew thoughtful. I don't need to be the one going undercover again. We could build a team, create a more systematic approach. Brooks Emerson Corporate Culture Consultancy? Marcus suggested with a smile. Changing businesses from the inside out? Something like that, Lisa agreed. But first, let's make sure the changes here have real staying power. As they walked together toward the elevator, Lisa noticed the office dynamics around her. The easy collaboration, the voices being heard that had previously been silenced. The genuine rather than performative respect. In the elevator, Lisa caught sight of their reflection in the polished doors. No longer the coffee runner and her hidden powerful husband, but equal partners in every sense. You know what the most powerful moment was, she said quietly. When Derek realized who you were? Lisa shook her head. No, it was this morning when Tamika from the new cohort asked a challenging question during orientation, and didn't apologize for taking up space while doing it. Marcus nodded in understanding. The real victory. Exactly, Lisa said as the elevator doors opened to the lobby. Not revenge. Something much better, change.